Each of us has a torch, a passion burning inside that ignites our motivation. When it's fed, the fire spreads and helps those around us keep their own torches shining bright. Our combined light can keep any monster at bay. We bring together people from around the world, sparks of light and glowing embers with enlightening stories of kindness, success, and overcoming adversity, fanning the flames of love, compassion, and positivity, sharing their light to help those struggling in darkness. I'm John Verico, and this is Share Your Fire. Hi there, everybody, and welcome to our show. This is going to be a fantastic show today. I've got an amazing guest, Dr. Laura Wilhelm. Dr. Laura has been doing some incredible research into things called blue zones. And blue zones are kind of unique places in the world where people have a tendency to live longer. And it's a combination of things that helps them along those ways. And I'm actually really interested in this because the whole concept of becoming a centenarian in this day and age is really, it seems far-fetched, but it is also more possible. So, Dr. Laura, welcome to the show, and let's talk about long life.
Love to do that, John. Thanks so much for that introduction. Yes, as you know, I'm a global consultant. I have written articles under the rubric of my company, and the slogan is Breaking Global Barriers to Success. And I have found a signature project that I think is going to occupy me for the rest of my life because I too am aging like everybody else. And I picked up on the research of the blue zones because we have one near where I live in Los Angeles. I live in West Hollywood, and about an hour's drive away, there's the blue zone called Loma Linda, California, where
And that's really, it's amazing to think that there's a place right in California and near Los Angeles, no less,
yes,
which is such a busy, crazy area, has, pollution and all kinds of issues. And yet there's an
exactly.
area there that is a concentration of people who have really discovered longevity.
Yes, the reason being that this is San Bernardino. It's in a mountainous area, which many of the blue zones are, and that protects them often from the pollution. And
Ah.
it also makes their life pretty remote. That they often do not travel to cities or densely populated areas. They just live a very simple life in their remote little areas. And that tends to enhance longevity greatly. You learn to get along with the people that live there.
Oh,
Usually
imagine that, getting along with neighbors.
getting along with your neighbors, supporting your neighbors, being looking out for everybody in the community. It becomes a value of the blue zones areas.
Those are values that almost tend to be lost nowadays, especially in the real urban areas where
Absolutely.
people want to be more private and kind of stay to themselves because they don't want to
Right.
get involved with other people. When I grew
There's a
up, I
lot more
remember,
stranger danger in big cities, as I found. I
yeah,
can be trusting sometimes. There are dangerous people that you do have to stay away from, unfortunately. If you
yeah.
go to we love Palm Springs. Palm Springs is a small resort about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, and celebrities often use it as a retreat from the busy urban areas. And for the first time in 20 years, we went to Palm Springs and someone held a door open for me at the 7-Eleven. It's just, it's a smaller, closer knit, friendlier community, and it's very enjoyable.
There's something about the unity of community that takes place in small areas like that.
Yes,
And I remember growing up, everybody was involved with everybody, and yeah, there was just so much. It was easier and smoother. And now there's five of these areas around the
right.
world, right? There's one in
That's right.
Japan, in Sardinia, in Italy.
Italy.
There's in Costa Rica,
Hmm.
and in Greece,
And in
and the
Greece.
other one
Yeah.
is there in California.
Yeah. Those are the ones that have been discovered, but I bet there are others. It's just that this gentleman, Dan Whitner, is sponsored by National Geographic to go and visit these areas, and those are the ones he's managed to uncover so far.
So
But
wouldn't
I
it
would imagine Soviet Georgia is known for being like this too. People live to be over 120 years old.
Wow.
The
Wow.
same
I
kind
was
of
just
thing.
going to say, what defines a blue zone?
Blue zone, areas where the entire population tends to defy standards of longevity. So the average is at least 10 years older than what you get in the Western countries, with many people becoming centenarians.
Wow. That is staggering. So boy,
And they
imagine
occur
living
naturally.
to
That these
over
are not.
100 years old.
Singapore is trying to create itself as a blue zone through government policies and very deliberate practices, but the blue zones that are known about are occurring spontaneously. It's just part of the local lifestyle and culture to do things that are conducive to high longevity.
So let's say you don't live in one of these blue zones and you would like to have a long life. Let's talk about kind of in these blue zones. I would imagine there's a combination of geographic and topographical elements that contribute to this, but it's also people in these zones have a tendency to have certain types of life practices.
No question yet. Dan Buettner has isolated 9 blue zone principles that seem to be common to all of these regions, and not every single person practices all 9, but generally it'll be 6 or 7. I mean, they're doing most of these things most of the time. And anybody anywhere in the world could practice these principles and live longer
Well,
and
let's
enjoy a
talk
healthier
about that.
lifestyle.
Let's talk about what these 9 principles are, 9 things that we can do to live a longer, healthier life.
Okay, yeah, they're so what's good about them is they're very holistic. They integrate body, mind, and spirit. So the body principles are generally plant-based eating. In Greece, when you think of the Greek diet, usually it's heavily focused upon beans and grains and fish and seafood and low-fat dairy, occasionally red meat, but not very much. And that's what you'll also see in Sardinia, small islands. Sardinia is actually a microcontinent. It has a very diverse biosphere, so you can get all kinds of different helpful foods in it within a small region. That's one reason it's become a blue zone. So definitely, dietary practices are making or breaking centenarians all over the world. And then lifestyle habits. One of the biggest recommendations I would make as someone that's becoming something of a Blue Zones expert is to get rid of your gym membership, because it's actually much more helpful just to do daily exercise.
Oh,
Don't
then
don't
going
drive
and
to a
doing
gym two
crazy
or three times a
workouts.
week, but
Yeah.
around the house, be more strenuous, do more manual labor. Walk to work or take your bicycle to the store. Just do things. Find stairs to climb. You don't need stair climbers at the gym. You just find stairs and walk up and down them. Don't take the elevator. Grow a garden where you have to do quite a lot of yard work. My father does this. I think that's one reason he's made it to a very solid, you know, old age in his 80s. He loves doing yard work. And it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It's just a matter of staying busy,
I was just going to say staying active. Yeah.
staying active and doing things that you enjoy. So
Physically active. Yeah.
yeah, physically active, low grade physical activity that is also enjoyable. If you like music, turn it on around the house while you're doing your housework,
And dance.
and dance. Yeah, make dance movements. Just again, try to get that joie de vivre, integrated into the less pleasant aspects of life. And I think that's what you definitely see, especially in Sardinia and Icaria. People
And
just
car
really enjoy they go out all night long and do Greek folk dancing and drink wine and talk to each other, and they don't they're more about the journey rather than the goals. They just want to live in the moment.
Interesting that you mentioned wine there.
Yes, moderate intake of wine apparently is seen in most centenarians. I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink any alcohol at all, but I might add a little bit of wine, just knowing that it probably is more beneficial.
Well, it's supposed to be a plant-based diet, and
Yeah, it's
wine is made
plant-based
from.
and it's homemade. It's homemade. It doesn't have
Well,
preservatives.
well, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the tannins, you get, some of the minerals and things from the the barrels that the wine is made in. So there are healthful benefits to the wine.
I may have
But
to
a lot of
look
it,
into that
are you
too.
still there?
Yeah, as I was saying, I may have to look into that a little more too. Try to decide
Yeah,
which wines I want to drink.
yeah,
I'm not a
absolutely.
big wine drinker, but I'm not
Yeah,
a
and the
big
wines,
drinker either, so we
yeah,
have
I've
that in
been to
common.
many of these areas. I've spent time in Italy and Greece and also Croatia, which has a
Mhm.
very similar climate and very similar culture. And the homemade wines are delicious. They're very light
Mhm.
and they're they go down very pleasantly with the plant-based foods. So I think wine is definitely something I'll add to my diet.
I remember when I was in the Navy and I traveled around to the Mediterranean areas and it's very, very true. The wines there are very different.
Yes,
Especially go to the little local pubs and things like that because the people there are making their own and they're
they
doing
make them. Yeah,
they're growing stuff in their own gardens and
right.
that's part of the menu. It was absolutely amazing. The food was so much better there. And I also have
Yeah,
found too, and this I'm not sure if this is true because I haven't sampled this. I have become gluten sensitive in my senior years,
yeah. A lot of people
and
do.
and I'm finding, and some people that I know who also have gluten issues here in the United States, when they go to Europe, and especially around Italy and the Mediterranean zones there, when they eat the local breads and pastas there, they don't have a problem with it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So in the documentary on Netflix that Buttner made, he shows the people in I think it was Italy making sourdough bread, and apparently sourdough somehow magically reduces the glycemic load of the bread.
Amazing. I have noticed that when I buy gluten-free breads, they're all sourdough based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and say in Germany, not known for blue zones, but in Germany, the beer and the bread are very much more nutritious. They have a lot of B vitamins because they're not heavily processed. So the beer and the bread are very, very good.
I have a tendency to think that a lot of we would find a lot in the blue zones that people are not eating processed foods
Right.
as
Not eating
much.
processed foods and not eating as much food. So the Japanese especially, I think, are very weight conscious. It's like you just eat until you're 80% full. And then if you need more food later, you can have a little snack, but you don't stuff yourself. You
See, that
stop
goes
eating.
so against the culture I was growing, right? It was the
Yeah.
clean your plate thing when I was a kid. You got to
Yes.
finish everything. And what's interesting is in the
And just
Italian
eating quickly in
families,
the United States because we're such workaholics.
well,
You
that's
have
true
your
too.
lunch at your desk and you're not even thinking about how it tastes. You're just wolfing it down.
Yeah, and
That's
then you don't notice it and you don't appreciate it
You
either.
don't appreciate it and you eat too much. You don't wait for it to satiate you. You just keep eating until you're full.
And that is a big mistake that a lot of us make. But I remember too that
Yeah,
when you cleaned your plate, it meant that you wanted more. If you ate it
right.
all, then you wanted more. And
And it was
so,
associated with good behavior.
yes,
It was polite to eat all the food that your relatives kept stuffing you with from the minute you walked
yes.
in the door.
I remember a friend of mine from high school had come over for dinner one time, and my grandmother was visiting, and she had made lasagna, and a portion of lasagna was about the size of a brick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he powered through the whole thing. And it was really good. You can't help yourself. You got to finish it because it's so good.
Yeah,
But he powered through it, this whole big brick, and he goes, "Boy, that was just so amazing." And he cleaned his plate, and he like used the bread to clean up the gravy, and well, he really, really enjoyed it. And my grandmother put another brick in his plate,
yeah.
and he was
Like you
like, "Oh
loved it, have
no,
some
no,
more,
no!"
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yes, yes. Well, as we were talking about in the pre-chat, I come from extended families on both sides, and my parents both came from Illinois, and we had dozens, if not hundreds, of relatives that would see us every summer, and they could not stop feeding us. My brother and I were the first grandchildren on both sides of the family. So I mean, honestly, we would eat from, sun up to sundown. And
That
to this
is a
day, we struggle
traditional
with
get
weight
together.
issues just because food is such a pleasurable set of memories for us that you really have to work not to use it to it's emotional eating or
Right.
to fulfill other needs than you know survival. So you have to be very careful with the programming that you receive sometimes in very affluent countries like the United States. So it's good to look at these little blue zones where people know that,
Yeah.
enough is enough and enjoy what you do have and moderate your intake and everything.
I love it. So that before we run out of time, which tends to happen because we get into these great conversations, I want to talk about some of those other practices. You said there's 9 principles, and we talked
Yeah,
about
9 principles. So yeah,
some of
diet
the
and
basic
and
ones in diet.
activity. Yeah, mindset. So we talk about mindset all the time with Jim Britt, personal development. Self-help is all about the psyche, and in the blue zones they have that going too. That they in Nicar in not Nicaragua, Costa Rica,
Mhm.
they have something called the plan de vida. So if you have a plan for your life, all of your activities fit into that, and it tends to push you through challenges if you have the goals and the principles set. And that's highly developed, especially in Japan as well. You think of the Japanese as being especially diligent and conscientious kinds of people, and they believe that yes, everything should go according to a plan.
And so actually having a plan for your life
You
rather
have
than just taking a day at a time or whatever,
right,
or
and presuming that you're going to live a long life and preparing for the different stages of life.
oh,
So I've talked about this a little bit. Eric Erickson was a famous psychologist, but is not that well known in the United States. He's well known in Europe, and he worked with Freud. But he died in his 90s, and he realized that people kept evolving over time. It didn't just stop in your 40s or 50s. That, as long as you live, you're going to have conflicts you'll have to resolve and challenges you'll have to face. And definitely in the blue zones, people know that. They're preparing early on for the long haul. And I think that makes a very big difference.
there's an ancient proverb, and I think it's Chinese in its origin, but I could be wrong. So don't hold me to the Chinese origin, but just knowing that this proverb basically says that if you live long enough, everything will happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what the Japanese foresee. They pray to their ancestors for guidance all the time. It's like it's
Yeah.
all been done. It's all it isn't like you're reinventing the wheel. You're just trying to plug in to the wisdom of the ages.
And just knowing that, at any point in time you'll be doing well, maybe not so well, you'll be hungry, you'll be full, you'll have money,
Yes,
you'll need money, you'll be,
it'll go up,
all
it'll go down, but it's the
yeah.
wheel of life.
Yeah. And you don't, and so here's the key, I think, too, that probably is a high awareness factor in these zones is the realization that because everything can happen to you, you don't really know what's going on in other people's lives at any given time.
Right. That's
And
absolutely
so
true.
they kind of treat each other with a little bit more openness and generosity and
Yes,
compassion.
because probably people are carrying some sort of cross and they may not be talking about it much, but you have a sense life is can be pretty hard and that you need to be gentle.
And I think we realize as we go through life, in some chapter of our life we'll be the hero of the story. In another
Right.
chapter, we could be the victim, and
Yeah,
in
or
yet
the
another
villain or
chapter, we may very
yeah,
well be the villain in somebody
yes,
else's story.
exactly. You never really know what role you're going to play and you can't completely anticipate what's to come. You can plan for it, you can hope for it, you can pray for it, but life lives its own destiny, and then you're just there to try to join the journey, I think.
Oh, that's I like that. In the journey. Let me ask, what advice would you give to our listeners here? Obviously, not everybody is going to be able to move to Okinawa or Sardinia or Costa Rica or Icaria, Greece, or even to Loma Linda in California. Yeah, these are blue zones. There are some, like I said, geographic and topographical things that
Mhm.
assist. You mentioned too, like Loma Linda is in a mountainous area, kind of above the pollution and the craziness of downtown Los Angeles.
Right, absolutely.
So yeah, there's those kinds of factors, with
Hmm.
uh, topography and weather and all those things that are contributors. But there's these more importantly are these nine essential principles that people really adopt. So let's just kind of quickly review the kind of those nine key things that people should perhaps adopt in their lifestyle or to take a look at least and evaluate to look at perhaps having a longer, healthier life.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about plant-based predominantly diet.
Hmm.
So predominant plant-based diet, not eating too much or too little,
Hmm.
eating enough, focusing on the more nutritious foods, eating throughout the day. So
Uh-huh.
you don't have huge meals, but have smaller meals throughout the day, and that's you usually see that in warmer climates generally. You're just eating enough to satisfy you, and then moving on, knowing that you can eat in a couple more hours and continue to nourish yourself. So breaking down your meals, having regular exercise rather than bursts at the gym or weekend warrior, softball games or whatever. Stay active throughout the week. Find excuses to add activity to your life so you can climb stairs instead of take elevators. Put on music while you're doing household chores or cooking dinner. Just be more active doing anything that you do have to do. And then the having a great deal of family and community support. If you're not religious, you can still join civic clubs, you can do political activity, you can engage in many different ways. It doesn't have to be religious, but you should be very community oriented. And then just
Okay.
having that idea that life is long and you're planning for the long haul and uh, not unduly worrying about the hard times, knowing that they're likely to pass and that things can improve. It's just a matter of staying the course because you have the long-term goals in sight.
I like that one too, because there's another old saying that I heard. It says, "Oh wait, actually, I think John Lennon said this. It'll all work out in the end, and if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end."
Yeah, exactly. You just have to keep going. Yeah, I think too, you see, especially like in Okinawa, people came out of World War II. I mean, any terribly catastrophic thing that ever happened to somebody in their family. So they have a sense of perspective,
Yeah.
which Americans often do not. You haven't encountered, real grief or real loss or real choice, even in a lot of cases. And when you're faced with real challenges, it can be difficult to process that.
Oh, so
Whereas
true.
these people have a history of, absolute cataclysmic horror in some cases.
Right.
And anything that happens to them is going to be nothing by comparison.
And that's an interesting perspective to keep. I think another thing to remember too is no matter what you're facing, you're not alone
Right.
in life. And that realization can help us to get through. That's a real good mindset to have as well. And I think a lot of these people are in that. I know that uh, my paternal grandfather, not my blood grandfather, because he unfortunately passed away very young, but my grandmother's second husband, the guy that I knew as my grandfather, he
Hmm.
lived well into his upper 80s and was very much into, whatever. He was not afraid to ask for help, but he was also not afraid to lend assistance to anyone at any time. And so, you get that kind of a perspective from people,
No
and you
question.
realize that, and that's why, he made it to his late 80s.
Yeah, and I think that that becomes a philosophy. Over time, you realize that you're very content. You're content because
Yeah,
you've accepted reality. You're content with the nature of reality. And I think if you can get that kind of serenity, you're going to live a lot longer.
I love it. I love it. And as we look forward to having a longer life and realizing that we're not alone, but there's also the things that we can do. The staying active thing is really important. There's so many times, and it's a combination of staying active and the mindset, right?
Right.
George Burns, who is my absolute favorite comedian, who
Yeah, he's wonderful.
came out of the vaudeville era. He had said, you don't have to be, you can't help getting older, but you don't have to be old. And I love that because the older just means the numbers are adding up, but old is a mindset.
Yeah,
And
but a tremendous amount of life lessons and insight and perspective that you've gained because of these difficult times
it's
that
true.
that give you a sense of confidence.
There's a Twilight Zone episode called Kick the Can. I don't know if you recall that one, but it takes place in a nursing home, in a senior center. And one of the residents notices some kids outside playing this game called Kick the Can.
Hmm.
Um, and he recalls, being a child and playing that. And he goes, maybe the secret of life is to never stop playing. And so he routes up his cohorts in the nursing home, and he gets them to all go outside and play kick the can. And of course, there's a couple of them that said, "No, we're old. We can't do this. We're old." And
Right.
they in their mind they could not do it because they were old. And the others who went out and played kick the can because they refused to accept the fact that they were old and said, well, why not? Why can't we go out and play? They went out, they played kick the can, and magically they all became young again. Of course, that's not really going to happen, but they that it was a very telling point in that when we stop playing, when we lose the wonder in life, that's when we start to feel old. And in our mindset, if we say we're old and we can't do this, then you are old and you can't do that.
Yeah, it's human psychology 101.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either you think you can or you think you can't, and it's always true,
And either way, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but another notable feature of life in blue zones is that people stay integrated with younger people.
Oh,
Like
yes.
you're helping to raise your grandchildren and great grandchildren. They're te teaching you computer skills and you're teaching them math and maybe you're showing them how to knit or something. You're exchanging knowledge all the time with the younger generation.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And they have
Yeah.
that verve, they have the energy and they have the desire. And I think that that keeps you feeling much younger too.
I love it. I think the key too, and this has come as pretty evident from this discussion, is right. Don't isolate yourself. The more interaction you have with your fellow humans, especially people who bring fresh perspective or people who bring a different energy, all those things come together, right? The
Yeah,
more
no
the more
question.
variety we have around us, the more we're going to get out of life.
Well, it's sort of, you see it with older people. It can be a knee-jerk reaction just to reject youth culture. You don't like their music, you don't like their clothes, you don't want to deal with computers. They're
Back in
just
my
things.
day.
Yeah, yeah. Back in my day, we rode horses, and anyway, be that as it may, you realize that cultural progress is taking place at astronomical rates, it might be a good idea to try to keep up with it. And the people who can teach you are the ones who love you, and they could be younger people.
I love it. I love it. I think I had told you before we started recording, I mentioned my mother, who back in the early 50s was actually one of the Rockettes. And she gave up dancing and all of that stuff to get married and have a family because that was the
Yep.
mindset. You know, you don't do two things. And my father ultimately, she ultimately divorced my father when I was in high school. And so the tap shoes came out of the closet and she started performing again. She went back to work. She was working in the fashion industry, selling, fashion clothes in a women's boutique, and they would do fashion shows. And then that went into talent shows. And so mom kind of came out of all of this again, and the tap shoes came out and she started performing. And then she remarried. And so it all went away again. And another decade goes by and her second husband passes away. And then nothing happened for a long time. And then at the age of 70, she met a 58-year-old singer, married a 58-year-old singer. And at 70 years old, the tap shoes came back out of the closet and mom started performing again with her husband, singing and dancing. And they were performing in senior centers where, mom was kind of getting close to, actually, by the end of it, mom was older than half the residents. Mom was 85, and
Unbelievable.
up to 2 weeks before she passed away, she was still dancing and singing and performing. So music is very, very important. Staying active, very, very important.
Yes.
Staying out there, interacting with people, doing for others, all those things are really, really vital, I think, to having a full and fulfilling life.
I
And
think it's also good to do private things that really engage you, like writing and journaling
oh,
and
yes, yes.
watching movies you really like. I mean, you're getting the classic Hollywood films or whatever. You're really thinking about things. Keep up with the news, keep up with current events. It just keep your mind open to novelty and new experience. Doesn't
Mhm.
always have to be in the community.
Oh, absolutely. That's really good too. Yeah. If you've got a passion,
Cultivate the inner space as well.
yeah, whatever your passion is, and a lot of times it's artistic, do
Yeah.
it,
And you may now have time
paint,
for it.
draw, write.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things you maybe had to give up when you were raising your family or working outside the home or, were otherwise occupied. Now you can enjoy it when you're getting older.
That, that's exactly it. One of the mindsets that I try to keep in mind, and this sometimes gets me in trouble because I get involved in too many things. But
Can be. Yeah.
when opportunity comes up, um, I use two words. Why not?
Right.
Just
Why
give it a
not?
try. Now, my wife says I have helium arm, so I'm constantly volunteering for stuff. But I think that's what is trying to. It keeps me youngish. I'm in my late 60s now, but I don't feel like I'm old yet.
Yeah, I think it's better to feel a little scattered than very stagnant. It's like, okay, you tried that, you didn't like it, or you didn't stick with it, but
Yeah,
at least you're making the effort to
I love
innovate.
it. I
Yeah,
love it.
no
So,
question. And the other thing, the Blue Zones people, they would probably like things like miniature golf or bowling. It doesn't matter. It's more social. You're not
yeah.
really trying to win. You're just trying to enjoy it.
There you go. Yes. Yeah, drop the competitiveness.
Yes. Don't have to compete anymore, but you do enjoy, social sports like volleyball, things like this.
I like that. What a wonderful mindset. It really, really is. And I think it will help people to have a better, longer, happier, more fulfilling life.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Dr. Laura, thank you so much. I hope our listeners are going to enjoy this. If somebody wanted to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The two best ways to do it are by email and on LinkedIn. So it's Dr. Laura Kristan, Kristan, Wilhelm on LinkedIn. And then my email is dr.laura_Wilhelm@yahoo.com.
I will put both of those in the show notes for people so they can reach out and get in touch with you. And and then also I will put a link to anything that you would like to send me that I can push out to folks about the blue zones and the studies that you're doing there.
Okay. Hopefully we can have some more conversations because Dan Butner is also about our age and he's going to keep working. Sure, he'll keep finding these little pockets of centenarians, and he's trying to roll out some of these findings around the United States. So you may be hearing about him more. And
Excellent.
I am trying to get the word out.
Excellent. Maybe we can get him on the show too.
Very good. Okay,
Well,
John, great. Talk to you later. Have a great
thank
day.
you. And share your fire. Thanks for sharing your fire with us today.
Glad to do it. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thanks.